You know what's interesting about baseball is the growth of the game. And what really bothers me about baseball is they're trying to change rules. And the game has been around for over 100 years, and the game has been successful year in and year out. Even when we had the strike in 94, 95, and everybody thought baseball needed a champion. Baseball needed Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa to have those home run derbies and all that other stuff. They thought that made baseball, and it did help baseball. No question that it did. But then Bud Selig decided to completely turn his back on the steroid thing, and now all of a sudden he's the savior. He suspended A-Rod. He did this to David Ortiz or whatever he did to the game of baseball. He's in the Hall of Fame, and George Steinbrenner isn't, which bothers the hell out of me. It really does. But what is your thoughts with the electronic umpire thing? And I to me, it's ridiculous. I think the umpires do a good enough job, and they've really taken the game to outer sources with video replay. What are your thoughts to this electronic umpire situation?
Yep, no, great question. I'm in the camp of I'm amazed at how good umpires really are, and the umpiring at the college level has improved so much. It's so much better in our sport. Umpires are better trained now than they've ever been. In Major League Baseball now, they grade out home plate umpires every night against the K zone, against the automated strike zone. And it's incredible how accurate those guys are. And generally the pitches that they, that they call a strike or a ball that are in disagreement with the automated strike zone, it's because of the catcher, and the job the catcher did, either really to present the pitch in a way that makes it look like a strike, or he caught it in such a way that he clearly made that pitch a ball. But I think our umpires are really, really talented. I would hate to see us lose a home plate umpire. It's such an important part of the interaction of our sport. And for as far as replay goes, you know what, as a guy that makes his living on whether or not, we advance to the postseason consistently, I do like the thought that there's an opportunity there for the umpire to go in, to take a look and get the call right if it's egregious. But what we've done is we've slowed down a sport that we've already been playing too slow. and we need to be really careful about that, because we run the risk of scaring off the casual fan because the game just drags too much. I think we've got to pick up the pace of our sport. And, one of the ways that we can do better with that is either we need to either quicken up replay, or we need to eliminate it for some types of calls.
Or stop watching the Red Sox against the Yankees.
Well, they're a great example, right? It's a 4-hour process when those two teams meet.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how long those games go. I remember, 3 years ago, the game went for almost 6.5 hours. I mean, I couldn't even sit there and watch it after 3 hours. I really couldn't.
Was that an extra inning game? Or?
Yeah, it was. It went to, I think, 13 innings. But the game, I think the first 5 innings went for like 3.5 hours.
Wow, you would think if it was like a 6-hour game, it would have gone like 20 innings.
Yeah, the game ended up, I think the game was like 15-13, or it was a 14-12 or something like that. I remember that game. I remember it.
That'll do it. All right, Chris, in your managerial style, is there anything unique that you do with your Duke players that maybe is a little different than the rest of college baseball, or just defies conventional baseball wisdom?
You know what? I don't think we are unconventional. We do embrace technology. We do try to approach the game from an analytical standpoint and use the information that's out there now. And so in that regard, I think we've tried to be on the front end of some of the technological shifts that have happened in our sport, and no pun intended by the use of the word shift, right? Mm-hmm. But I think by and large, this game is a player's game, and so the important job that a manager, or in our case, a head coach at the college level, is, we try to get out of the player's way and let them play the game and not try to overcomplicate it too much for them.
As you guys know, we are interviewing and talking to Duke head baseball coach Chris Pollard. Now, Chris, I've loved the game of baseball, and the change of analytics has really taken over the game. The war. I mean, people are trying to wonder. You're looking at analytics now. You're trying to check out what Mickey Mantle's war was in the 1960s. I mean, it's crazy how the game has changed. Do you like the new analytics that baseball has brought out? Do you, especially for the pitcher, because now you're looking at WHIP and ERA. You're not even looking at wins anymore. You're not looking at losses. The main two things you're looking at is WHIP and ERA. Do you like these new analytics, or do you think baseball should have just stayed the way it was?
Couple things about specific to Saber Analytics that you just referred to. We in our sport, we had a period of time here where we started to look at all outs as equal, and anybody that's been around our sport for a long time knows that all outs are not equal, and that that a play that advances a runner or a play that stretches the defense is a more valuable out than a strikeout. And so you've seen this strikeout numbers go through the roof in our sport because you've got analytics folks saying, well, hey, the strikeout is the same analytically as the ground out, but it's not, because there's a lot of positive things that can happen when the ball is put in play. So that to me is and I think we're seeing things shift back in the other direction, because now you're seeing more value put on guys that have lower strikeout ratios and lower strikeout numbers. The biggest thing that I see, you guys, right now in our sport is that because of technology and because of all the data that's out there, I think pitchers have a decided advantage over hitters. And you now have a guy that throws 100 miles an hour, and he's got all of this information at his disposal on how to get the hitter out, what the hitter's weakness is, what his hot zone is, what his cold zone is. And these guys that can hit at the big league level, I have so much respect for them, because it truly is the hardest thing in sport. When you consider not only just the fact that hitting a white baseball coming at you at 98 or 100 miles an hour is hard enough, but just when you know all the advantages that the pitcher has right now in our game, that's where we got to figure out how to even the playing field a little bit for the hitter.
Last question for me. Can you see if there is more of an analytic push throughout Major League Baseball and even minor league baseball? Could you see that taking over in college baseball, whether it's a Power 5 conference like the ACC or even some of the mid-major schools, some of the schools in California that have been very good at baseball for a while? Can you see that kind of thing taking over, or do you think college baseball's authentic form of what you were just mentioning will still stay intact even with the more data available?
No, I think it is. I think you're seeing it change and impact our sport right now at the college level. I think this is a trickle-down effect that starts at the highest level, but now as that data is more readily available at the college level, you're seeing the impact that it has on how teams construct their offenses, how teams utilize their defenses from a shift perspective. I look at our own program. We might have utilized the shift 10% of the time or less 5 years ago, and I bet through 16 games in 2020, we were in the shift 75% of the time or better. And so, and it's purely a product of us having more information at our disposal that says, hey, you're just wrong if you don't do this. You're wrong if you don't play this shift. And, I think we play a lot less things on a hunch now than we used to.
As you guys know, we are talking to Duke head baseball coach Chris Pollard. Last question for me. It's one of the fans that are writing to us right now as we speak throughout our social media. He wants me to ask you, who is the funniest guy in your clubhouse?
Oh, wow. We've had a lot of funny guys over the years. The funniest guy, and I would definitely put a former player who now works on campus at Duke. James Siemba has to be one of the funniest guys that has ever been in a Duke baseball clubhouse. I would definitely tell you that. Who is the funny guy on this year's team? You know what? There's probably a handful of guys that are competing for that honor. That's a great question as I sit here and think about it. You know what? Now that I think about it, this 2020 team compared to some of our other teams, they weren't that funny. We've had a lot funnier teams and a lot funnier guys in the past than this group of guys.
Wow. Coach, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
Sure. At Coach Chris 14 on Twitter and at Coach Pollard 14 on Instagram. And appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk a little bit about our program.
Oh, absolutely. And when the season does start, we would love to get you back on. As you know, I'm a huge Duke fan, and I'm going to be rooting for you. And I think you're going to do great. I really do. I've been reading a little bit about your team and your recruitment class. You have a sensational team and a sensational a sensational coming up season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, stay in touch. I'd love to come back on with you down the road.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.